I used to study for hours and still get average grades. Then I changed how I studied and became first in the world in biology. Without burning out, without studying all day, this is how I did it. Hey guys, this is Dr. Yassine from IG Tutor, a medical student in Cairo University, and I have achieved first in the world in AS Biology. Quick backstory here. When I was in year 9, I used to get average grades, didn't really get an A star in any of the subjects. And the same thing in the first couple of months of year 10 until I saw a video on YouTube about study habits and study techniques and the proper ways to study, and it really changed my life. I suddenly got much better grades with much less study time, and I even had some free time to do other stuff like going to the gym and working on my side hustles. The highest yield skill to develop in your IGs in your early years is how to study.
Now, for you to study properly, you need to build a full study system from to-do lists to pomodoros to Feynman technique to flashcards to spaced repetition timetables to time management systems. We will cover everything in brief in this video. Number one, to-do list system. You need to have everything roughly planned out. What will you study? For how long? For example, don't have a vague instruction like today I'll study biology, chemistry, and physics. This is not specific enough. You have to go deeper. For example, today I'll study biology for 2 hours, chapter 1, from page 2 to 6, for example. This is how deep you should go. And let's continue. For example, physics, 2 hours, chapter 5, from page 20 to page 25. You have to be specific and you have to give each task a deadline. For example, biology, you should be done with biology in 2 hours. Physics, also 2 hours. This is how you should do your to-do lists. Second thing is Pomodoro. Now, when you study, there are two ways. You either, for example, say, I'm going to study for 5 hours, and you actually sit for 5 hours without taking a break. And that's not the correct way to do it. The right way, which is the second way, is to take breaks. Take breaks every hour, every 40 minutes. Because science says that you usually lose focus every 40 to 60 minutes. I personally take a break every 60 minutes and play my favorite game. For example, it's Rocket League. I play like 3 games. It takes around 20 minutes. And then I start studying again. Now, instead of sitting for 5 hours and my focus is very low after the first hour, and I usually never study again because it's really hard, I actually study for like around 3 hours, 3.5 hours, but I'm highly focused in on all the 3.5 hours. And I also enjoy studying because I also do what I like, which is play my favorite video game.
Now, to understand the topic properly, you need to use the Feynman technique. What is the Feynman technique? Feynman technique is super simple. It's when you imagine that you're teaching to a 10-year-old. Now, a 10-year-old will not understand all those fancy words. You will have to simplify it so that that 10-year-old understands it. So let's pick a topic, for example, photosynthesis. Explain it in your own words. You might write plants make their own food using sunlight. They take in carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. Now, find the gaps where you get stuck while explaining. For example, while you were explaining, you couldn't remember which part makes glucose, okay? Now you go back to your notes, check which part makes the glucose, then go back, re-explain that topic, then keep going and find gaps in your knowledge. And always while you're explaining, ask the question, why? Why do we need glucose? Why do we need sunlight? Why do we need carbon dioxide? Ask why. Keep asking yourself why until you get to the core or you get outside your syllabus. You can also try explaining using analogies, which is really nice. Photosynthesis is like cooking. The plant is the chef, sunlight is the fire, and the ingredients are water and carbon dioxide. Now, if you really can't say an analogy like this one, you don't really understand. That's why the Feynman technique works. It forces your brain to actually process, not just copy.
Now, after you have properly understood the topic using the Feynman technique, you have to revise it so that you make sure you don't forget it, which is where spaced repetition timetables come in. Your brain works in an interesting way. When you study information for the first time, usually it takes around 24 hours to forget that piece of information. Okay? Which is why it's very important when you study a piece of information, you actually revise it the next day so that you don't forget it. Okay? Now, when you revise it, your brain actually retains the information more. It marks this piece of information, this piece of information is important since it's the second time we've studied this. So it actually now takes you 3 days to forget that piece of information. Now, when you study it again after 3 days, it takes 7 days. Then after 7 days, it takes 14 days, then 28 days, then 2 months, then 4 months, then 8 months, then a year to forget the information. So basically, let's take an example. You have a topic like photosynthesis. How do you revise that topic? First revision will be a day after you've studied the information for the first time. Then, after you've studied it for the second time on day one, you wait for 3 days, then study it again. You revise it. Then, after you've revised it for the second time on day three, you wait 7 days, then revise it again. Then you wait 14 days, then revise it again. Then you wait 28 days, then you revise it again. And this is how you do it. Now, after you have properly understood the information, which is basically 80% of the job, there is memorization. Basically, every subject, there is some memorization that you have to do. This is where flashcards come in. Flashcards are the best way to memorize anything. Why is that? Because it leverages a technique called active recall. Now, active recall is a very, very simple technique. Let's take an example. You have a flashcard. A flashcard is basically a piece of paper. The question is on the front of the paper, and the answer is on the back of the paper. You have a question, what is mitochondria? You keep thinking, what is the function of mitochondria? You keep thinking, the function of mitochondria, function of mitochondria. Then you remember, the function of mitochondria is it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's the site of aerobic respiration and releasing energy. Now, you see that part where you kept thinking, trying to remember what is the function of mitochondria? This is where studying happens. This is where your brain starts forming new neurons so that you can remember the information, which is why active recall is so powerful because it takes a lot of effort while studying. A very good example for that is in the gym. A person who lifts a 1 kilogram dumbbell will not really grow muscles like the person who lifts 50 kilogram dumbbells. The 50 kilogram dumbbell guy is using a lot more effort to lift than the 1 kilogram guy, so his muscles got bigger. The same thing happens in studying. The more effort it takes you to actually study, the better your memory will become for that piece of information. Which is why strategies like rereading, highlighting, they're not good because you're just reading the information. You're not actually trying to remember anything. Now, there is a very, very, very powerful application called Anki. Anki is a digital flashcards app. Now, instead of using paper flashcards, you use digital flashcards. So what does this Anki application do? It basically combines active recall with spaced repetition. For example, it brings you a flashcard, the same flashcard, what is mitochondria? If you get that flashcard right, it allows it to go to the second level. The second level, the cards get repeated after one day. Now, when it comes back tomorrow, and you answer it right, only then it's allowed to pass to the third level, where cards are repeated after 3 days. Then when you get it right again, it passes to the fourth level, where they're repeated after 7 days, then after 14 days, then after 28 days, then however the amount. Now, this is so powerful because it makes you do active recall because it's flashcard and also makes you do spaced repetition. It's basically built on how your brain works. Now, I will make a full Anki video in the future. Stay tuned for that and you can subscribe for the channel so that you get notified when this video comes out. Now you have understood, you have memorized, you have revised, you've done basically everything. Lastly, you should make sure that you are putting enough time into studying so that you can actually apply all of that, which is where time blocking comes in. Time blocking is basically giving certain times in your day. For example, from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, you say, I'll study at that time. Now that's a time block. So you should always make sure to block non-negotiable study hours. For example, you come back at school from 5 p.m. You come back from school at 5 p.m. So you say you block a time block from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. every single day. This is your study block. And I not like using apps like Google Calendar to give me reminders that, oh yeah, this is the time to study. When it comes 5:30 or 5 minutes before, it tells me, don't forget that this is your study block. By the way, if you're trying to build better study habits, I've got a free school community group where we share wins, routines, and keep each other accountable. Links in the description. I also have a free newsletter where I give weekly study tips for better grades. It's also in the description. And all of this, of course, is for free. Now, this video was just the introduction of the How to Study videos. For a deep dive on how to perfect the first step, which was the to-do list system, watch this 15-minute video. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.